A Ship on Fire at Sea, written by Jane Ingelow. She was a British poet and novelist. She was born in Lincolnshire, United Kingdom. She was the daughter of a banker named William. She was born in 1820 and died in 1897. Among the best work of hers, Off the Scalings, A Story of Doom, High Tide on the Coast of Lincolnshire became very famous. Some famous quotes written by her which come into my mind are: Man is the miracle in nature. God is the one miracle to man. The moon looks upon many nights. Flower, the night flower see but one moon. A healthful hunger for a great idea is the beauty and blessedness of life. Children, the story A Ship on Fire at Sea is abridged from Off the Scaling. This story is about a young girl named as Dorothy Graham. She lost her mother and father at a very early age. Therefore, she and her younger brother Tom was taken care by an eccentric old uncle who had an adventurous life. He went on his yacht and ship on sea voyages from place to place and took Tom also in his adventurous journey. Dorothy Graham went to school. After completing her schooling, she went to the college, and to spend few days she comes to stay with her uncle. The story begins when she is in the ship sleeping. She is awoken by the havoc, and when she comes out, she sees that there was another ship which was set on fire. There were 3 rescue boats which were lowered to rescue the passengers from the ship at fire. In one of those boats was Tom. In the end of the story, Tom comes back and returns with one single life saved. Dorothy Graham takes care of this man. He was Mr. Giles Bradson. Later, she nurses the fellow and then gets wedded to her and has a happy married life. Children, this extract describes only that scene when the ship was on fire at sea. To begin with the story, Dorothy Graham asked Mrs. Brand. Mrs. Brand is one of the sailor. What is that? What is that? What has happened? Mrs. Brand pointed out with a finger to a yacht set on fire. Dorothy, who's the narrator, saw 2 strange objects at the sea. One was the pale moon, which looked white and sickly, hanging and seemingly to mourn the horizon. The other object looked about just the same size, was red in color. It was the yacht set on fire. It had caused the commotion in the ship in which the narrator was. The noise was now subduing as the 3 minutes ago men who were called, and now she saw that 2 boats were already lowered. Tom, narrator's younger brother, was in command of the foremost. Second boat was led by other 2 fellows. She could see the boat, as now nobody prevented her from doing so. She could never forget the sight of the fire bursting from every narrow inlet of the black part of the yacht. It was bursting one by one. The mast or the pole on which the flag of the ship was, it burst. It was followed by the mizzenmast part of the boat. Beside the mast was sailing forward in the water. Then both the parts were set in fire. Commotion in the ship was followed by the dead silence. Now the men were standing still, waiting for further order by Uncle. All the eyes followed jumping, sparkling tower of the yacht. The ship of Dorothy was moving closer towards the yacht. The smoke of the fire was then touching their faces. They could hear the crackling and the breaking and the creaking, shivering, roaring noises made by the horrible fire. She had never seen a horrible beauty of the red light. The fire added to the terror of breaking poles of the ship, which were moving rapidly, sailing on the sea. The moon went down, and now the sky was dark, except the red fire of the majestic ship on the sailing on the black water. She saw the two boats nearing the wrecking yacht. The foremost was led by Tom. But as Dorothy was gazing, the unpleasant silence, the flame spread out, and everything bathed into flames. The second boat was wrapped in the angry flame as if engulfing everything. The wrecking ship plunged into the fire. It was moving in an unorganized manner. The black water quenched its thirst by engulfing the top hamper of the ship. Hissing sound was audible. A thunderous roar was heard on the horrifying, sad, empty sea. The angry and the horrifying illumination of fire was no more seen. The darkness spread over the sea. The misery of the next half hour followed it, as the boats which went to rescue the passengers in the ill-fated ship were no more seen. Dorothy's heart throbbed. She thought whether the boats were sunk into the water. Were they able to save any of the crew, passengers? She was worried about Tom, her only brother, but could not ask anyone. Mrs. Brand, who was the sailor, had already went away, and her uncle was preoccupied and busy with plenty of things in his mind. Therefore, she went close to Mr. Brand and asked, could they not move nearer the sunken ship? He told that they were already just half a mile away from the spot. He also told that they had already set the boats to rescue the crew or the passengers. Dorothy asked that so far the plan executed was not successful. Why had they let so much of light in the ship, as it was very difficult to see through the dazzling light? To this, Mr. Brand told her that they could now find the two boats, but they would find the bright ship, as there were many other boats in the sea. Secondly, he thought perhaps the people deserted the ship on fire. Mr. Brand, who was the steward, saying this, he went away. Dorothy covered her face with hand and moaned at the suffering. She thought she had lost her brother forever. She gazed at the dark water and looked at the sea. The dawn gave her the best sight. She saw two dark objects, the two boats. The foremost was a boat with two black figures on it. It was an unforgettable thrill of joy. People cheered. Within 10 minutes, they could hear the sound of the oars. Then Tom came on the deck, that is, the floor of the ship, and the crew with him. Her uncle blessed Tom. He said, "God bless you, Tom." He asked that could he save anybody? To this, Tom replied, "Only one, sir." That is, Tom was able to save only one passenger from the ship set on fire. Children, I hope you've understood the story. This man was none other but he was Mr. Giles, to whom later Dorothy married and had a happy married life. I hope, children, you've understood the story. Thank you.